John Edwards in a whole heap of trouble. The U.S. Department of Justice has greenlighted the prosecution of Edwards for violations of campaign laws while he tried to cover up this extramarital affair, according to ABC News. And a source close to the case said Edwards is aware that the government intends to seek an indictment and that the former senator from North Carolina is now considering his limited options. And he could, I guess, accept a plea bargain with prosecutors. I mean, look, it's all focuses on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, provided by two wealthy supporters. And the government is going to contend that those were illegal donations that went to support and seclude his mistress, which would be a campaign donation. I wonder if you got to look at this through the prism of, and think about this. How did Clinton get away without being prosecuted? He used government offices and officials to cover up and lie. Remember, that's outrageous. All right, 800-941-SEAN is our number if you want to join us. All right, well, is Mike Stark? Didn't I talk to you the other day? I had to cut your call short, didn't I?
Yeah. Well, you were headed to break.
What's up? By the way, this is Mike Stark. Mike Stark stalks most conservatives around the country, but I will say this: you have kept your word with me, and I bet you many talk shows don't ever want to talk to you, do they?
Well, different talk shows, I think I have to use different names and different calling places to get on the air because I call so much, not because they don't like talking to me. I mean, they take my calls, so they obviously enjoy the back and forth with a decent progressive, but they don't want to talk to the same guy.
It's funny that you're disillusioned with Obama as well. You said that the other day. That kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah, Obama's not done. You know what? Democrats wouldn't have suffered what they suffered in 2010 if the Obama Justice Department upheld the rule of law and went after bankers. Instead, we saw bankers walk away with tons of bonuses and all the rest, and the entire country just wonders what we voted for. The solution to 2012 is whoever comes out against bankers and says, you know what, there needs to be accountability again in this country. But I wanted to talk to you about NY-26. Before I get to that, though, I got to ask you, where's the prosecution on John Ensign? We're going to prosecute John Edwards.
I don't know. He's not.
John Ensign?
It'd be interesting. Did he use campaign funds to cover it up?
He had his parents bribe the cuckold, the guy whose wife he was sleeping with, to go away.
Look, Mike, if you're going to try and get me to defend this, I'm not going there because I'm going to tell you something. It infuriates me because these guys are supposed to be leaders. They're in positions of power, and you know what? They're not helping their fellow party members. They're not helping the country while they're doing all of this.
You know what? I think both you and I are family men. It's one thing we can see eye to eye on. We've both got kids. We've both got wives we love. And if you can't be decent doing the little things, how can you be decent doing the big things like governing? I mean, that's the way I think.
It's funny. I'm very, and you shouldn't even be proud of this, but I mean, I've been faithful to my wife all the years I've been married, and I find it amazing. I got word from somebody just recently that, people. Some guy out in California was saying something about me on the air that was untrue, and I'm like, get me a tape because I might sue him. And because people just think they can say anything about a public figure, and I'm not taking that from anybody. So anyway, what else is on your mind?
NY-26. I have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this. You're going to say this had nothing at all to do with the Ryan plan and Medicare. And my point was that you had some of the brightest minds in the game. You had Karl Rove's group running ads in this district. All of these people absolutely know it was a rejection of the Ryan plan and Medicare. That's what they ran on at first. When her poll numbers started dropping, when she stuck to her guns, they ran away from it. They tried not to talk about the Ryan plan at all. So, and then she started coming back. She started closing the gap a little bit. Sure, there was a Tea Party candidate in there along the way. Whatever. The fact is, her numbers plummeted. They just sank like a stone when she initially embraced the Ryan Medicare
listen,
plan.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Amongst Republicans is old white people, and old white people don't want their Medicare taken away.
I don't have time to get into everything you're saying, but let me focus on this because your analysis is wrong. First of all, and I will concede one point: demagoguing Medicare and scaring old people has been a proven successful tactic And I would actually urge Republicans to take a look at this, because I'm not disputing that it didn't have some impact on this race, because I think it probably did. But we're not looking at the big picture here, because what they're not telling you here is that they did have a Tea Party candidate in this race. And the Tea Party candidate, interestingly enough, is a Democrat that ran as a Democrat in the district that has spent over the years some $5.2 million of his own money. And he got 8 or 9% of the vote. I don't know what the final vote tally was, but it was about 8 or 9%. Now, when most people hang on a second,
Chris Lee, the guy that dropped out of the race, that resigned his seat, won that seat with 72 or 73%.
Yeah, well, and by the way, that impacted
away from that, and you're still in the 60s, Sean.
But here's the problem. Part of the problem is that you have a guy who was taking pictures of himself, in a mirror and sending
them to transvestites.
I don't know where he was sending them.
Honest to God.
I don't know where he was sending them, but he's sending them out there so that, so then people say, you know what, you can't even elect Republicans, and she paid a price for that in that area, too. So that didn't help her, and you got to admit that didn't help. So here are the factors.
That it did.
Here are the factors. I would say that, number one, the conduct of that guy, I would say the meta-scare tactics work. The third-party Tea Party... Hang on a second.
The Ryan plan ends Medicare.
Let me finish.
As we know it turns it into a voucher program.
The third-party spoiler, who was a Democrat that ran in the district, who'd spent in these elections $5.2 million, I think that would have something to do with it. Now, there's one other thing here. The Democrat who won also campaigned against Obamacare. Now, think about this. Because $500 billion in Medicare cuts were a key component to selling the program, the Obamacare program, to the CBO. And she was asked by Slate, why do you oppose the savings passed by the Affordable Care Act? Those cuts moved the Medicare doomsday date back by 8 years. And the answer was, well, those same cuts were found in the Ryan budget. It's disingenuous for our opponent to say I'm cutting when she supports those cuts and I don't. So, in other words, she ran against Obamacare because Obamacare didn't pass, if not for the $500 billion in Medicare cuts. Now, so there's too many factors here that I think makes this more of an anomaly. Now, if Democrats can find former Democratic candidates that put their name on the Tea Party, run as Tea Party candidate, which you can do in New York and you can't do in a lot of other states easily. And if they're able to bamboozle people and drag away and split the ticket that way, and if they also have a scandal that resulted in somebody, having to resign from office, and if they use Medicare tactics on top of it, they might have success. I don't think they can duplicate this anywhere around the country, although they think they can.
I'll tell you why I think you're wrong. I think that seniors in that district understand that the Ryan plan is a voucher plan, and they've had insurance throughout their life, and they've dealt with the letters from private insurance carriers saying, we're not going to cover this, you're going to have to pay for this yourself. They've got Medicare right now. They know it works. They go see a doctor, they get their prescriptions, they get fixed up, and they're in and out.
But the problem is it's going bankrupt.
They don't want to go back to it.
Listen, I agree with you. There is risk. And Mike, here's the choice that we ultimately are going to face here. We're going to pay people now, or we're going to pay them later, because Medicare's headed for bankruptcy. And so either we fix it now or we suffer the consequences down the road. Listen, I got to run. All the best to your family.
We need to do some cost controls for
Are you ever going to run for office? I'm just curious.
No, there's too much in my past. Too many girlfriends. too long. I'm 42 years old. I'm just there's too much.
Did you ever get your law license? Did you ever finish law school?
I did finish law school. I passed the bar. I haven't gotten the law license yet. I haven't. What do you call?
Apply. You have to pay your fee.
The court confirmation.
Yeah, you could probably have to pay a massive fee for that. Thanks to your Democratic friends.
No, it was part of the bar application, but things are going well for me so far.
All right. Mike, appreciate the call, buddy. I got to run.
Take care.
All right.
Enjoy talking to you.
800-941-SEAN is a number. He's matured a lot. He really has. I mean, that was a pretty thoughtful call, even though we disagree. One other thing about this. So if Davis had not been in the race, the former Democrat that was running as a Tea Party candidate, it may well have been that the Republican could have won. And no one outside of the New York 20, and if they didn't have this scandal, which was a big part of this, I don't think anyone would be paying attention to any of the results. Democrats are trying to make this the biggest win in the history of mankind. Now, the truth is Democrats won. The Democrat won in one of a more conservative district